The Impossible Engineers. The Galactic Confederation vessel Eternal Harmony emerged from fold space at the edge of Sol system, its crystalline hull shimmering with residual quantum energies. Commander Trazil stood on the observation deck, his four eyes blinking in sequence as he studied the unremarkable yellow star and its planetary bodies. Preliminary scans indicate primitive civilization, reported Science Officer Velnar, her tendrils pulsing with blue light as she interfaced with the ship's sensors. Minimal orbital infrastructure, rudimentary space stations, no evidence of faster-than-light capability. Standard uplift protocol recommended. Trazil nodded. Another routine first contact mission. The Confederation had encountered thousands of emerging species over its 50,000-year history. The procedure was well established. Make contact, introduce the species to proper galactic civilization, and guide their technological development along the approved evolutionary path. Strange energy readings from the fourth planet. Velnar suddenly announced, her tendrils flashing with confusion. Something is. Wait, that's impossible. Before Trazil could request clarification, the ship's proximity alarms blared. A vessel had appeared seemingly from nowhere, now positioned directly alongside the Eternal Harmony. It had neither emerged from fold space nor approached at sublight speeds. It had simply manifested. Unknown vessel, unknown configuration. The tactical officer reported, mandibles clicking with agitation. No detectable propulsion system. No energy signatures matching known technology. The communication array chimed, and a holographic image materialized in the center of the command deck. A bipedal being with dark skin and silver-streaked hair tied back in an elaborate braid. Greetings, travelers. The being said in perfect Confederation standard. I'm Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Exploratory Fleet. Welcome to Sol System. We've been expecting you. Trazil's dorsal spines stiffened in shock. You speak our language. Admiral Chen smiled. We intercepted your probe last year. Fascinating encryption algorithms, by the way. Rather classical approach. We've been studying your language and cultural database since then. Impossible, Velnar whispered. Our probes use quantum-locked communications. The encryption cannot be broken without the paired receiver. Ah, about that, Chen replied, somehow having heard the science officer's murmur. We found quantum locking rather limiting, so we developed a different approach. We call it probabilistic decoupling. Would you like to dock with our vessel? We have refreshments prepared that should be compatible with your physiology. Before Trazil could respond, his tactical officer interrupted. Commander, I'm detecting. I don't understand. Their vessel appears to exist in multiple probability states simultaneously. Our sensors can't lock onto its actual position. Quantum uncertainty at a macroscopic scale. Velnar's tendrils had paled to white. That's theoretically impossible. Admiral Chen laughed. We find that impossible is often just a matter of perspective. We'll extend our probability field to encompass your vessel. It might feel a bit strange at first, but I assure you it's perfectly safe. The stars outside the viewports seemed to blur and shift, and suddenly the Eternal Harmony was inside a vast hangar bay that by all logic could not exist within the dimensions of the human vessel they had observed. Welcome to the Einstein, Admiral Chen said as she materialized on the Eternal Harmony's command deck without using any visible transportation technology. Our flagship. She's named after one of our scientists who helped us understand that the universe isn't as rigid as it appears. 2 human diplomatic delegates accompanied the Admiral onto the Confederation vessel. Trazil noticed they wore no environmental protection, despite the atmosphere being calibrated for Confederation species. Our bodies are temporarily phase-shifted to adapt to your environment, explained one delegate, noticing Trazil's confusion. Much simpler than wearing suits. Over the next solar cycle, the Confederation delegation discovered that humans had achieved feats considered impossible by galactic standards. While most species followed a predictable technological evolution, wheel, steam, combustion, atomics, fusion, fold space, humans had taken bizarre, unpredictable leads. You developed quantum probability manipulation before establishing a unified planetary government, asked Velinar during a tour of the Einstein's engine room, a space that seemed to fold in on itself in ways that made her inner ears ache. We find that political systems work best when they evolve organically, replied Dr. Marcus Wong, the ship's chief engineer. Forcing unity usually just creates instability. Besides, competition drives innovation. But competition is inefficient, argued Counselor Zivtok, the Confederation diplomatic expert. Resources are wasted, efforts duplicated. Inefficient, perhaps, Admiral Chen conceded, but extraordinarily effective. When thousands of different teams try thousands of different approaches, breakthroughs happen faster than when a single authority dictates research priorities. The most shocking discovery came when the Confederation delegation learned how humans had achieved faster-than-light travel. "You don't use fold space?" Traziel asked, mandibles clicking in disbelief. "We tried it early on," Dr. Wong explained, manipulating a holographic display that showed physics equations the Confederation scientists couldn't begin to comprehend. Found it rather limiting. It's like trying to travel from one side of a paper to another by moving across the surface, when you could just fold the paper and step through. "But that's not how fold space works," Velinar objected. "Exactly our point," Admiral Chen smiled. "We don't fold space. We fold probability. Our ships don't move through space. They simply become more likely to exist at their destination than their origin." Counselor Zivtok's chromatophores flashed with distress. Such technology should be impossible without thousands of years of scientific development. Your species has only discovered atomic energy less than 2 centuries ago. "That's where you're wrong," Admiral Chen replied gently. "Most species develop technology in a linear fashion. Bigger engines, faster ships, stronger materials. We decided to question the underlying assumptions of reality first. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you approach problems from unexpected angles." As the Confederation delegation prepared to depart and report their findings, Admiral Chen presented them with a small device, a sphere of what looked like ordinary glass. "A gift," she explained. "It contains the basic principles of probability manipulation. Consider it a cultural exchange." "You would share such technology freely?" Traziel asked, astonished. In the Confederation, technological advantages were carefully guarded, metered out only when politically advantageous. "Knowledge benefits everyone when shared," Chen replied. "Besides, we're curious to see what your scientists might do with it. Perhaps they'll discover applications we haven't considered." As the Eternal Harmony prepared to return to Confederation space, Traziel found himself troubled. The humans didn't fit any known paradigm of developing civilizations. They hadn't followed the established path. Their chaotic, seemingly random approach to science had somehow propelled them beyond technologies that the Confederation had spent millennia perfecting. "Commander," Velinar approached, her tendrils pulsing with excitement. "I've been studying the human gift. It's extraordinary. The principles inside could revolutionize our understanding of quantum mechanics." Traziel gazed at the unremarkable yellow star around which this remarkable species had evolved. "Send a priority message to Central Authority. Classification: urgent. Subject: humanity. Immediate reconsideration of standard contact protocols required." As the Eternal Harmony entered fold space, Traziel couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was about to change forever. The quantum crisis. 6 standard cycles had passed since first contact with humanity. The Galactic Confederation was still struggling to integrate the implications of human technology when disaster struck. The Eternity Nebula, a vast stellar nursery home to 17 developing civilizations under Confederation protection, began to experience catastrophic quantum fluctuations. Space-time itself seemed to be unraveling, creating expanding pockets of altered physics where the fundamental constants of the universe changed unpredictably. The Central Authority convened an emergency council on Nexus Prime, the Confederation capital world. Representatives from all 87 member species gathered in the crystal dome, their voices a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and modulated tones as translation fields struggled to keep pace with the agitated discussions. Order, order. Supreme Counselor Vexnar's amplified voice finally silenced the chamber. The ancient Zithari's scaled skin shimmered with stress patterns as she addressed the assembly. The situation in the Eternity Nebula continues to deteriorate. 17 developing civilizations face extinction if we cannot contain these anomalies. Projection fields activated, displaying the affected region. Swirling masses of distorted spacetime spread like cosmic infections, consuming entire star systems. Our best scientific minds have been working tirelessly, reported Chief Scientist Kroltok of the Pelmar Dominion. We've deployed reality stabilizers at the boundaries of the affected zones, but they're failing faster than we can establish them. The quantum fluctuations are accelerating beyond our ability to predict or contain them. The chamber erupted again until Supreme Counselor Vexnar raised all 4 of her appendages for silence. What of the humans? Their understanding of quantum mechanics exceeds our own. Have they been consulted? A ripple of discomfort passed through the assembly. Despite formal diplomatic relations, many Confederation species remain deeply suspicious of humanity's chaotic approach to science and governance. The humans have been uncooperative, admitted Diplomatic Minister Zilvax, his luminescent spots dimming with embarrassment. They insist on sending a delegation directly to the crisis zone, rather than submitting their proposals through proper channels. Vexnar's inner eyelids closed briefly in frustration. And you denied this request. Standard protocols must be. 17 civilizations face extinction. Vexnar's voice thundered through the chamber. Contact the humans immediately. Grant whatever clearances they require. 3 solar cycles later, a human vessel arrived at the perimeter of the Eternity Nebula. Unlike the elegant Confederation ships maintaining a safe distance from the quantum anomalies, the human craft, designate Prometheus, plunged directly toward the heart of the crisis zone. "They're insane," muttered Commander Kralvir aboard the Confederation flagship Unyielding Truth. "No vessel can survive those distortions." Yet the Prometheus moved through the quantum storm seemingly untouched, quantum fluctuations parting around its hull like water around a stone. The human delegation was transferred to the Unyielding Truth for an emergency council. Dr. Sophia Rice, Earth's foremost quantum physicist, addressed the assembled Confederation commanders and scientists. "We believe we understand what's happening," Dr. Rice explained, manipulating a holographic model of the nebula. "You're facing a cascade failure of quantum cohesion. Essentially, reality is forgetting how to be itself." "Impossible," objected senior theorist Brelixen. "Quantum laws are immutable. They cannot forget themselves." Dr. Rice smiled patiently. "That's where you're wrong. Quantum mechanics isn't a set of rules the universe follows. It's a description of how probability manifests as reality. When enough improbabilities stack together, the fabric of possibility can tear." She expanded the hologram, revealing complex mathematics that made several Confederation scientists' appendages tremble with confusion. "We propose deploying a network of quantum resonators throughout the affected region," continued Rice. "Unlike your reality stabilizers, which try to force normal physics onto the distorted areas, our resonators will adapt to the local fluctuations and gradually coax them back toward baseline parameters." "This approach contradicts all established theory," Brelixen protested. "Yes," agreed Admiral Miguel Sanchez, the human military liaison. "That's precisely why it will work. Your stabilizers are failing because they're trying to impose order on chaos. Our resonators embrace the chaos and guide it toward a new equilibrium." After heated debate, the Confederation commanders reluctantly agreed to the human plan. There were simply no alternatives remaining. The deployment was a marvel of improvisation. Human engineers worked alongside Confederation technicians, adapting their designs on the fly as they encountered new quantum distortions, while Confederation protocols required triple verification of every modification. The humans made intuitive leaps that bypassed weeks of calculation. That can't possibly work. Chief Engineer Vrildax objected as a human technician, reconfigured a resonator's probability matrix using what appeared to be random adjustments. Probably not. The technician agreed cheerfully. But we don't need it to work perfectly. We just need it to work long enough to establish a feedback loop with the next resonator in the network. To the astonishment of the Confederation observers, the improvised approach succeeded where meticulous planning had failed. Within days, the quantum anomalies began to stabilize. Within weeks, they had receded entirely. In the aftermath, as rescue operations commenced for the affected worlds, Supreme Counselor Vexnar convened a special session of the Central Authority. "We face an unprecedented situation," she addressed the assembly. "For 50,000 years, the Confederation has guided the galaxy along an orderly path of development. We have maintained stability, prevented conflicts, and preserved knowledge through countless generations." The vast chamber was silent, every being present aware that something fundamental had changed. Yet in less than a decade, humanity has demonstrated that our orderly approach has also limited us. Their chaotic innovation, their willingness to embrace uncertainty rather than fear it, has given them insights that our structured methods could not achieve. Diplomatic Minister Zilvax stepped forward. "Supreme Counselor, I present a formal proposal. Full membership for Earth and the Galactic Confederation, with a special dispensation to maintain their unique developmental path." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Such an accommodation had never been granted before. "Furthermore," continued Zilvax, "I propose the establishment of a joint Human Confederation Innovation Institute, where our methodical approach to knowledge can be enhanced by human creativity." The vote was closer than any in Confederation history, but the proposal passed. As the assembly dispersed, Vexnar approached Dr. Rice, who had been invited to observe the proceedings. "Your species continues to confound us," the Supreme Counselor admitted. "Our simulations predicted it would take you at least 5,000 years to achieve the technological level you've already reached." Dr. Rice smiled. "That's because your simulations assume a linear progression of technology. Humans don't work that way. We take shortcuts, make intuitive leaps, and sometimes stumble into breakthroughs by accident." "It seems inefficient," Vexnar observed. "It is," Rice agreed. "But efficiency isn't everything. Sometimes you need to get lost to discover new paths." As news of the successful collaboration spread throughout the galaxy, countless species looked toward Earth with new interest. The humans had demonstrated that there were alternative paths to advancement. Messier, perhaps, but potentially leading to heights the Confederation had never imagined. The age of orderly progression was ending. A new era of creative chaos had begun.